Right, we're live on Facebook. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Right, hello everybody, and welcome to my page. And you'll notice that I'm joined by a special guest today because we are in the middle of my big rollout for the Rescue Dog Rehoming Remedies book, this book here. And what I did for this book was I roped in 10 dog training friends of mine to contribute chapters to it because I wanted to continue the work that we started with the Tour de Rescue event and help shine a light on the different rescues. Hence, I've got Steve Wylie here from Shack Sanctuary today. So Steve, if anybody who doesn't know you, tell us who you are and what you do, buddy.
Yeah, I thought you said this was only going to be 10 minutes.
It will be. I talk really fast.
you know what I like when I start with this story. I run a rescue called Shack that I set up now 14 years ago when I lost my first own personal dog, which was called Shack. And it was one of those things. I got him from a pound. I bought my own first house, realised that if I wanted a dog, I could get a dog, was totally green around the gills and had no idea what I was doing. Took on this little scraggy German Shepherd cross that was probably only about 6 months old from the local pound. And he just went on to destroy everything I had, really. The carpets, the floors, the banisters, the doors, everything. But at that particular time, I was really struggling at work. I didn't enjoy my job. I was struggling financially because I'd just taken on this house. And it was a tough time. And going home to him and just, letting loose on a night time and disappearing into the woods with him really got me through a bad spell. Fast forward 7.5 years, I took him for a walk one day. He just got out the front door, lay down and died with lymphoma. It was a huge shock. Didn't see any signs and I didn't take it very well. So at that point I said I would never ever put myself through that again and never go down that road. And I think I lasted 2 months before I got another dog, and went on to basically just try and help as much as I could with what was happening in the world of rescue. He'd done so much for me that I wanted to give a little bit back. And here we are 14 years later. As I say, the charity at the moment, because of COVID and everything else, we've had to reduce numbers, or well, not reduce them, but not increase them. But we're still sitting with about 54, 55 dogs in my care at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And you've given more than a little bit back, buddy, because I came up and interviewed you last year for the Tour de Rescue, and it was incredible to see what you've achieved there, what you've accomplished. With the stories about the dogs, even the long termers, even who you managed to rehabilitate and get into new homes and stuff. What on that, talking about COVID and not taking any more in, how's that been for you? I know it's been a struggle anyway at COVID, but it's particularly hard for you not to take in.
I think it's very hard. I mean, to be honest, at the moment, what I think we're going to have is it's been quiet for us in terms of, because we only take extreme cases. So it is, literally when the vet rings you and says this dog's going to get put to sleep. I think the other rescues have stepped up and done a fantastic job of mopping up the mess, if you like, of the ones of, that are kind of just going through the family breakups and, lost my job or I'm pregnant and all that. And they've done an amazing job kind of to function and still be able to take those dogs in. For me personally, I think it's now that we're going into this second wave and all of a sudden people might have got through that first difficult period, and suddenly now it's, what are we going to do? We've managed to survive so far, but now people are just going back to work, and all of a sudden there's talk of, furlough being extended and all that kind of stuff again. So I think we've been very fortunate, buried our heads in the sand to an extent and just tried to get through with it. But it's also had the plus side, because it's meant I've worked a lot closely with the dogs that we've got, a lot more closely. And, it's been a nice, refreshing period to actually just look at what you've got. And since the end of lockdown, we've had 4 dogs that have gone into homes just because we spent so much time during lockdown to assess them and worked out their characters a little bit more. So yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, to be honest. But it is what it is. It's nobody can control this.
It is, yeah. So you've you contributed a chapter to the book. I was I'm a big fan of your books that you've written. How many books have you got already done?
I've done three. I've got three that I've published. I've got one that should be coming out in a few weeks. To be honest, once I get me backside in gear and get it edited. And get
Excellent,
finished. But
excellent.
you know the feeling. You know the feeling. And that one's basically a book called Rescue in Lockdown, which is it was a diary basically of 70 days of what went on at Shack and how I coped, and me personally how we got through those 70 days of the good times, the bad times, the worrying times and stuff. So I'm hoping to get that out probably within the next month, to be honest.
Oh, good. Look forward to
But it
seeing.
is just something I just do it to relax, to be honest. It's something that I use to switch off and kind of, maybe get some feelings out, or maybe it's just take us to somewhere different and just write something that pops into my head.
Yeah.
So
Have you always been passionate writer, or did that just start with when you started getting involved with the dogs more?
I was no, not really. I mean, I think all the way through sort of sixth form and being a teenager and stuff, I always wanted to do something creative, but just didn't have any talent. And some would probably say I still haven't, to be honest. But I studied, A-level English and stuff like that. And it was the whole writing of books came about because I was speaking to a lady similar to what this book that you've very, greatly put together was she had a rescue dog. She's had it a couple of weeks. It was urinating in the house, something like that, and she couldn't cope anymore, and she wanted me to take it because she didn't want it to go back to where she got it from in case it got put to sleep and all this kind of carry on. And I just tried to explain to her about what that dog had been through before she'd actually got it, and that she would need to consider, it's being kicked out of a home, whether it was a good home or a bad home. It's had a home that it was used to. It might have been on the streets, it's been picked up by dog wardens, it's gone into a pound, all those kind of things that have happened in the space of 2 or 3 weeks potentially, and that she needed to give the dog a little bit of time. Thankfully, she said that she understood and she'd never thought of it like that. So I went home that night and thought, I'm going to put something on our website that would basically recreate that story, just for basically before you give up on a rescue dog, think of this. Me being me and getting talking about the dogs, it kind of grew into a book rather than a post on the website. But it was just something that I used a lot of experience. That everything that's in that book, yes, some of it is exaggerated, and yes, some of it is 2 or 3 characters rolled into one or whatever. But everything that's in there, I have seen happen in my work in rescue, if that makes sense. So it was kind of just an accident that happened, and then I didn't touch anything for 3 or 4 years, and wrote 2 other books that are really quite dark. That it's just about depression and I think just general kind of life. The music I listen to, I've always listened to bands that I suppose people would class as being depressive and what have you. And growing up as that late 80s, early 90s indie kid kind of thing. So yeah, it just kind of just went from there. And that's it. It's for me personally, it's been a great way of just coming home and forgetting about what's going on at the kennels for an hour and jotting some stuff down. And obviously we live in a world where it's so easy now to get something and produce something. Whether anybody reads it or anybody likes it, it doesn't matter. For me personally, it's just the fact that you've created something and again put some energy into doing something positive rather than sitting watching EastEnders or whatever.
Yeah,
So
exactly, definitely, yeah. So where did the idea come from to talk? Because in this chapter that you've got here, home, it's from the dog's point of view, So when did that start? When did you start doing that, or did that start with the first book?
it started with the first book, Dom.
Yeah.
To be honest, it literally just came in. It was trying to sort of think, what's the best way of explaining it? And it's okay if this was you and it was happening to you, what would it be like? How would it feel? And it literally just kind of came that it was just that was the way it was. Trying to imagine a dog being driven somewhere and kicked out and abandoned. How would because dogs are always kind of, you let them off the lead or whatever, and the first instinct is to run away and sniff and explore, and all of a sudden turn around and find that person isn't there anymore. And the panic that sort of must set in with that. I've got a little dog that lives with me, Bandit, and he was found at Druridge Bay. And still now, if I take him anywhere and there's cars, or if I take him to the beach, he's constantly looking as if he's looking for somebody. So he's always looking off in the horizon. He's always sort of quite stressed and quite panicky. And you just wonder, because he was found at the beach, was he, driven to Druridge Bay and kicked out? And it's just something that he's always remembered. So it just kind of came naturally from that. And I thought it was the most effective way of getting that across to people. I think not necessarily humanizing in dogs,
Yeah.
but just trying to get people to understand it from that point of view, you know, and trying to see it as if it is a living animal or a living creature that is having to put up and face with those circumstances.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the what you put across really well is with this chapter and with your books that you've done is like um the uncertainty that the dog, because obviously that, as we know, it's not the dog's fault. It's not
Yeah,
the dog's in the rescue, isn't he? Thinking, well, Robert Elaine, dog friend of mine, he always says, like, a lot of these all these dogs in rescue thinking like, what did I do to deserve being put in here? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I did wrong, And I
yeah.
think you put that across well with the dogs, where
Thank
they're
you.
trying to figure it out,
Yeah, no, thank you. Because it is, I mean, it's like you said earlier on, every dog that we get in and every dog we have has a story. Some of them are more horrific than others, but they do have a story. And I think it must be difficult for the dog to understand. Just, I know, dogs live in the day and they're brilliant at recovering and getting over things, but it must be a difficult time for them just to comprehend exactly why they are there at that moment in time, on both scopes as well. So the ones that have been badly abused and beaten or starved, and all of a sudden they're getting food twice a day and not getting kicked around or whatever, that must be difficult as well for them just to understand why has things suddenly changed, what has moved them into that environment rather than the environment that they've got used to.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about stories then, have you got any like recent, how has it been on the rehoming front through COVID, after COVID? You got any stories to share with that?
Yeah, we've had a really nice little time of just working and thankfully finding some really good homes for a couple of dogs that have, before COVID, I wouldn't have expected. So I took a little staffy in from a local pound that was due to get put to sleep because he was biting the bars and chewing the lead and was classed as unrehomable, and just a bit of a mess. And you know what these staffies are like, bless them. They get stressed quite easy. And so we got him. He was due to get put to sleep. We got him, spent a bit of time with him, did bits and bobs with him. And we've actually got him to a level where he was, he's walking without grabbing the lead and just working out again why. It was basically, if you gave him that split second in his kennel, he would be on the lead. But if you were very just straight in, lead out, let's walk and go, he was kind of amazed that you'd done that, and he was just out. And it stopped being a game, which again, I think is a big thing. He just got into that habit of that's what he did, and that was a game. So we got him out, and I had a lady who's a good supporter of the charity. She's had now 4 or 5 dogs from us over the years, and does agility and competes with agility. And she had a staffy off me that's unfortunately died, but was really good at the agility. And she asked me if I had anybody that I thought was, up for the job. And I put Mitch forward, and she's taken him. And she had him for a couple of months, but has finally now decided he's fully adopted, and he's beginning to compete and becoming Kennel Club registered for the agility and all that kind of stuff. So a dog that was suddenly, was deemed as being almost stupid, if you like, and just biting the bars and an absolute idiot, he's actually proved to be a really clever dog, and is really, really good at the agility. So he's a really proud sort of member of our team, if you like, the fact that he's gone on and done that, and just giving him that chance.
Brilliant. Yeah. Fantastic, buddy. So I'll just do a quick plug for the book, Steve. So this is the book that Steve's contributed to, Rescue Dog Rehoming Remedies. We've got 11 different dog training stories and secrets in there. Yeah, you get it from Amazon, paperback, Kindle version. All of the proceeds from the book are going to go to the rescues that are supported with the Tour de Rescue event. Why don't you tell people where they can go and find out more about Shack, how they can support their local rescue?
Yeah, thank you. And I'd just like to say, Tom, as well, thank you. It's a really good gesture of you donating the proceeds to it, because rescues have found it very difficult, and it is hard. And like you say, your general fundraising, your shops and everything were closed. So just to give a little bit back, and for me personally to be part of helping some of the other rescues as well, it is a great thing. So thank you for that. In terms of us, you can go, the website's www.shack.org.uk, which is spelled SHAK. We're on Facebook. We are on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I tend to try and post as many photographs of the dogs and stuff on Instagram as well, so people can actually just see the dogs out and about and what we do. Because although we are a rescue and it is kennels, we do try and get the dogs out and about as much as we can and sort of integrate them into society, or whether it's taking them to the beach, or I've got a little Jack Russell at the minute, who's a bit of a nightmare with cars. So me and him tend to disappear into Anik once a week and just have a wander around Anik, and he's getting better. So it is kind of, showing people that it isn't just a dog comes into kennels and spends the rest of its days in those kennels. So Instagram, we're on there, and we're on Facebook as well. Like I say, Shack the Sanctuary, that's on Facebook as well for people that try and follow the stories. We've also, of course, got 2 shops now. We've got one in Blythe and we've got one in Amble as well. That's, again, a great team of volunteers that's working really hard to allow us to do what we're trying to do up with the kennels, really. So.
Yeah, brilliant. And as far as supporting the rescue, what's the best way to do that? Cash?
Yeah, cash, really. Yeah, I mean, it's, as much as that is, it's a horrible thing to sort of do that. But I think for me, we had tremendous support. I launched an appeal at the start of lockdown, and it blew my mind, the support that we got. And it was really quite humbling to find that people were so into what we were doing. And, you're kind of reluctant to ask and keep asking and having your hand out all the time. But in such uncertain times, that is the big worry, because obviously we do have staff. It's not a complete volunteer based, but the staff are the people that are there day in, day out and making sure that the dogs get what they need every single day. And to lose that would be obviously a massive knock-on effect for the dogs themselves. So yeah, pop into the shop. There's PayPal, which is again just shack@shack.org.uk. Direct debit, standing orders, one-off donations, whatever. I remember always say I appreciate every sort of pound that we get, to be honest, because when I first started this, I had no, I had no support, I had no money coming in, so it was literally down to me to raise the money for the dogs in the kennels. And a number of times I got my chest waxed and stuff like that just to pay the kennel bills and stuff. So every time I see a pound coming in, I think that's great. That's my chest saved for another spell. So yeah, we appreciate everything that comes through the doors, to be honest. We appreciate it.
Brilliant, fantastic, mate. Well, again, thanks so much, Steve, for your contribution to the book.
Thanks for
and thanks for coming on and having a chat about it.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, excellent. All right, guys, get yourself up and check out Shack on Instagram and on Facebook, and give them some support, and grab a copy of Rescue Dog Rehome and Remedies as well. You'll see Steve's story in there, and I also tell the story about the other rescuers that we visited as well. So yeah, it's thanks very much, Steve. That's been fantastic.
You're welcome, Tom. Thanks very much, mate. Thank you.
Speak to you soon, buddy. Take care.
You're welcome, mate. Bye.